Mega Man, the series that revolutionized the genre of jumping and shooting. A truly remarkable piece of work first created in the year of 1987. It's not only jumping and shooting, though it has bridged out a bit and created some interesting games. And that's just it, isn't it? If you're watching this video, you're likely a fan of the series and know that there are several universes in the Mega Man franchise. And they are, for the better part, very different. And that, my friends, is what we're going to talk about in today's video. We're going to dive into each classic Mega Man and talk about the differences between them. Strap in, as this will be one of the longer videos on this channel, but I assure you, it will be worth your time. Before we do, be sure to support, leave a like in the video, comment button down below. If you really want to support, hit the subscribe button. Let's get it! Before we get into this video, I just want to give a shout out to Gamer Subs. I've been with them for years now, and they've always delivered the most tasty of energy supplements I've ever had. And also their cups are nice too. Check in the description box to the video and use my code CH42 for 10% off all orders and get yourself the tastiest energy supplements you'll ever have. So, where do we start? Yep, you guessed it. Rockman Forte 2 for the Nah, that will be in the weird game pile video for some other time. Mega Man, as I stated before, first hit the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987. This game was and is still hard as your ballsack in the cold country of Canada, but damn, it's fun. It played like no other game at the time and could keep your interest for what felt like an eternity. We have 6 robots to fight, then we can get to the Wily stages. So, what are the buttons? A was jump, B was shoot. That's it. Start was your weapon menu, and that's pretty much it. Also, you got the Magnet Beam, which was required without the game even letting you know. Placed in a Rockman stage guarded by 2 blocks that require Gutsman's power. This game is filled with a ton of jank and feels like it is held together by a piece of yarn, but it still retains its charm. At the end of the game, a female character appears and her name is Roll. She'll be a very large staple in the games going forth. Then came along Mega Man 2. They realized, we can't be fucking around anymore. It's time to create one of the best games ever made. Now we have 8 robots instead of 6. This will be a recurring theme going forth. The music got a ton better, as did the level design. Same concept, jump and shoot. We also have a password system, so now you didn't have to play the entire game in one sitting anymore. Just write down the code somewhere and input it at a later time when you want to pick it right back up. Design of the energy and health pickups have changed and look much cleaner. Then came along 3 items you would get after certain master robots were beaten. Item 1, 2, and 3. 1 was a rising platform, 2 was a jet that flew across the screen, and 3 was a platform that rode along the wall. The US version featured a normal and hard difficulty, while the Japanese version only offered 1. And that is the hard mode equivalent on the US version. Mega Man 2 also introduced the first ever E-Tank. In case you didn't know what these do, upon use, it fills your entire health bar to full. A major oversight, however, is you can still use them even if you have full health, so they can just go to waste. Surely this was fixed in the later games. We now have a screen that showcases which Wily level we're on. Unlike the previous, this game was the introduction to the Wily boss stage, rather than fighting them throughout a regular level or in separate levels. Each individual capsule contained a previously beaten boss, and then when you defeat them all, you fight Wily and then whatever the fuck this thing is. And then for your prize, you get quite possibly the most annoying sound effect in the video game history.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
Oh yeah, now we're cooking in the mechanics department. Mega Man 3. This game offered cleaner gameplay, and now we have the slide. Yeah. The slide was tricky to use, but significantly increased your movement speed. Don't use it next to a cliff because, well, it features a smaller weapons menu that doesn't take up a large majority of the screen. Now we have the bestest doggo, Rush. This replaced the items 1, 2, and 3 from Mega Man 2. Mega Man's best pal, and not only does he come with you at the start, he also gets upgrades similarly in the progression of Mega Man 2. After certain levels, you will unlock Rush Jet and Rush Marine. When you start the game, you have Rush Coil, which is needed more than the majority of the levels in the game. Rush Jet allows you to soar across the screen, and a funny little mechanic is if you jump while riding it, it consumes considerably less energy. Rush Marine is silly. It's pretty much used only one time, and it's not even required to do, but if you feel like swimming, then feel free. This game also had a different feel to it than the previous two. It felt as if the gravity was increased. When Mega Man jumps, he feels less floaty. Could just be me, but every time I play these games in successions, 3 feels so much different than 1 and 2, and it takes a bit to adjust to. Mega Man 3 features the Wily robots as well. When you finish the 8 Robot Masters, you replay 4 of the stages that you have already completed: Needle Man, Gemini Man, Shadow Man, and Spark Man. There is a catch, however. The stages are modified, making them more difficult and longer, and also featuring robots from the previous game, Mega Man 2, to give you sort of a throwback feel, but also being weak to the weapons to the current game. I almost forgot to mention the introduction of this mysterious new fella, Proto Man. He appears in certain parts of stages, and you have to buster him down. He kind of just drops down the stages and disappears. Will he appear in games going forth? Moving on to Mega Man 4, personally one of my favorites. Not only do we keep the slide from the previous game, we also get a charge shot. I could argue the quality went down slightly from Mega Man 3 in this game, given the less creative level design and the sort of dull boss fight patterns. They don't really do much to pose a threat. Also, the health bar fill up for the bosses is just...
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
But now, we have the ability to revisit levels that we have already beaten, and that's pretty important because we did go back to Mega Man 1 a bit by having on-screen collectibles that you can grab, but this time they are optional, unlike the Magna Beam from Mega Man 1, the wire, and the balloon. The wire is a nifty tool that latches onto the ceiling and takes you to where you shot it. The balloon is much more versatile. You can set up multiple of them, and while they travel slowly upwards, where you place them, it can make platforming not only easier, but much more fun. Mega Man 4 is also the beginning of the true pause menu. It's an entirely separate screen showing you everything at once, and no submenus. I was never a fan of those menus, they seemed quite clunky. We also have another friend, Eddie. Eddie appears in certain stages and spits out a random item for Mega Man to collect, be it energy, health, or if you're really lucky, an E-Tank. Speaking of, you are no longer limited to carrying 4 of the E-Tanks. They have their own stack now. One thing this game has is an insanely good music. I'm also a big fan of the Cossack music too, which is the next topic. For some reason, they had an entirely separate villain named Dr. Cossack, who works with Wily to take down Mega Man. His lasers are nice, the music is amazing, and once you take down Cossack, turns out he was being brainwashed by Wily. And now you gotta go through all the Wily stages again. This is the first game in the series with 2 sets of Wily stages, if you don't count Mega Man 3's Wily robot stages. Mega Man 5 is an interesting game. They kept the pause menu, and this will be the default theme for the classic Mega Mans going forth. Apparently, Mega Man 5 is an abundance of extra lives dropped from enemies for a reason, and that's because I guess people complained about the difficulty in the previous games, so they jacked up the extra lives that dropped from enemies. I'm serious. Play the game for yourself, and if you haven't noticed this before, you certainly will after this video. In terms of quality, this game plays very clean. You keep the slide and the charge shot, and the charge shot looks a bit better in my opinion. Now, we have a new member of the squad, our favorite bird, Beat! There are 8 letters scattered, all across the Robot Master levels that spell out Mega Man 5. And then, you get them all, you have access to Beat. When summoned, he will help you in battle, having his own energy bar. What a good boy. Don't worry though, Rush is still here, except he only has Rush Jet and Coil. I guess they got the memo about the Rush Marine. The Rush Coil is a bit awkward this time around because you jump with it rather than it bouncing you up directly. They did away with the wire and the balloon, and now we have the arrow weapon, which is something you get by default. This is a cool weapon because when you shoot it, you can stand on it and it thrusts you very fast across the stage. Additionally, you can use the arrows to jump on and ascend a level. We now have 2 types of tanks, the E-Tank and the coveted M-Tank, which refills your health and energy for all of your weapons to full. I believe that there are only 2 of them in the entire game, but I can't be for certain. In this game, Proto Man makes his return, but he's evil. Except not. He was framed for a robot attack and kidnapping Dr. White. Mega Man later finds out that Dr. Wily created a robot called Darkman to impersonate Proto Man as revenge for Proto Man's betrayal in the previous game. So it appears you have to go through Proto Man stages and fight him, but it's really Darkman the whole time behind these robots. Then after the Wily Castle leg normal. And you'll want to have beat for a Wily Capsule. Trust me. Now moving on to Mega Man 6. One that a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of. I can understand why, but I do like this game. There are quite a few additions to this game, including the color scheme. This game makes full use of the Nintendo's capabilities, having very bright colors, and they're super crispy, especially if you play on an RGB modded console. It's beautiful. Aesthetically, this is the best game out of the 6 we've mentioned so far. Mechanically, not so much. Also likely being the longest out of the 6, the levels are just empty. The stage's design took a bit of a hit, leaving large areas just scarce of enemies, whereas the previous games compacted smaller stages, just the right amount of obstacles. This game does offer quite the variety of upgrades and secrets, though as an upside, which makes the game pretty dynamic. We now have stats for every robot master upon selection. I don't think any of these numbers really matter, because all the bosses pretty much do the same amount of damage, but hey, we would have never thought about it twice back in the day when this game was released. Instead of using Rush himself, it's now a Rush adapter. It comes in 2 forms, Rush Power Adapter and Rush Jet Adapter. The Power Adapter is your slow but powerful form, which unfortunately you are unable to slide with, but it comes with a charge punch that is very strong on its own and destroys blocks and stages that can't be dealt with by any other weapon. The Jet Adapter is sadly just a much worse Rush Jet. Again, no slide and very limited fly time, but it does recharge quickly upon landing. Beat and Eddie are still here, but Beat requires only 4 letters instead of 8 to unlock, but does not do damage to bosses anymore. You no longer collect the letters through the stages, but take alternate paths to the boss, and you collect each beat part that way. Does that mean there were always 2 bosses that Wily made, and then 3 in the boss levels? Lastly, a brand new item is introduced. The Energy Balancer. Whichever you're using the buster or a weapon that has 100% energy already, it fills the weapon with the least amount of energy, which it passively implemented into every other Mega Man X game, but that's a whole different video. They decided to add yet another villain, Mr. X. Yeah, not sure why we didn't just be the main guy the whole time, but hey, whatever. Oh wait, Mr. X was Wily the whole time. Let me get this funny typo here. That's just great. Oh no, though, the game feels very bland overall. But I said before, I do like this game. Mega Man 7, baby, it's time to kick it up to the 16-bit graphics. Released in 1995, 2 years after Mega Man 6, we now have a whole new experience. This game offers new music, new level design, new bosses, new items, and even new pals. With the introduction of L and R for the SNES controller, we no longer have to press pause to swap weapons, and that's huge. Moving to the 16-bit, we still keep the formula for 8 master robots, but you have to unlock the last 4 through progression. You can't fight any of the 8 at any time, which is a weird decision, but it works. We also get an intro stage, which none of the previous games had before, and at the end, we encounter a brand new character, Bass. If you read some of the lore, you'll find out he was created by Wily to be an anti-hero to surpass Mega Man, but obviously that doesn't work out too well for him. You end up fighting him again later in the Wily stages, in a powered-up form, utilizing his dog Treble as an adapter, much like you see in Mega Man 6. This game introduces a currency called bolts. Small ones are 1, and big ones are 10. You can access the shop by hitting select at the robot select, and talk to your new pal Otto to buy various things. Rush is back now, but in top form. Rush Coil, Rush Jet, and now Rush Search. The adapter is acquired by finding 4 letters that spell Rush in the first 4 robot stages. Mega Man 7 made very good use of the Super Nintendo's capabilities, as now the stages have environmental interaction, like freezing lava, activating Junkman stage with electricities, burning trees, and Slash Man, which by the way is how you unlock Beat, and others. Speaking of Beat, He takes a bit of time off from doing combat and now rescues you if you fall into a hole. And you can buy more charges at the shop. New items introduced were the exit part, W-Tank, S-Tank, Auto's Screw, the Hyper Rocket Buster, and even Proto Man's Shield. Exit part allows you to exit a stage you've already beaten. W-Tank completely refills your weapon energy. S-Tank is the replacement for the M-Tank in Mega Man 5. Auto's part you can find and give it to him to not only make items cheaper, but access more items in the shop. Even items that are exclusive to finding with Rush Search, so you don't have to go around and find them yourself. Hyper Rocket Buster is an upgrade for the Rush adapter that applies a longer range and homes in on the enemy. Finally, Proto Man's Shield, when equipped, can block projectiles, but only if Mega Man is standing still, and it's not that great of an item sadly, but it's pretty cool. This game offered a lot to the series and is so bubbly and fun. Definitely one of my favorites. And now, it's time for something entirely different. Rockman Forte technically isn't part of the classic 1 through 11 main series, but definitely deserves mentioning. This game was one of the very last released for the Super Famicom, as this game was Japanese release only, but got ported over to Game Boy Advance years later, renamed Mega Man Base, but we won't talk about that game. This game looked so good, it could pass for a PlayStation game. As you can see, we have an entirely new Mega Man sprite, and then, the best part, we can play as Bass. If you're a fan of the Mega Man X series, the way Bass plays is very similar, utilizing an A button dash. He can also double jump like Zero can, even out of a dash. He can't charge his buster, or slide, but he can aim his rapid fire buster in 8 directions. One weird thing is that there is no rush in this game whatsoever. Poor doggo. This game is hard as balls and might even be considered the most difficult official Mega Man game ever created. I'd have to agree with this because, trust me, I've played every single Mega Man game there is. A new villain gets introduced as King, and his stages are so unbearably difficult. King 2 is notorious for being the most brutal gauntlet in the entire game, as it combines 3 insanely difficult levels into one. And we get no refills in between. Holy shit. We kept the bolts from Mega Man 7, and the shop is quite diverse now. The most unique item in the list is Critical Boost, which functions like RTSR in Dark Souls. When you're low health, you do almost double the damage with everything. Risky as all hell, but absolutely necessary for speedruns, if you are masochistic enough to try a speedrun of this game. There's also Super Recover, Auto Charge, and many more. An interesting quirk to this game is in order to gain access to the King levels, there is a substage that requires you to hit these little crystals with their respective weapon. Each one utilizes a unique way for the weapon to move or navigate, and it's a very interesting progression level. This game is slept on for sure, and if you haven't given it a try after watching this video, I would highly suggest it. And now, we have Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation 1 getting back on track. They adopted the Mega Man design from Rockman Forte and cleaned it up a bit. This game also pushed the limits and introduced cinematic cutscenes. Now we have voice acting.
When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wally.
Also, the password screen is no longer, since we've upgraded to a memory card. We've upgraded all the way to 32-bit, baby. We kept the intro stage, and we get an exclusive weapon to the intro stage called the Mega Ball that Dr. White conveniently gives us. You can do some really nifty things with this weapon by creating multiple balls in the air and bouncing, gaining ridiculous height. Mega Man 8 kept a limited boss formula, and the shop themes only allowing you to fight 4 and then fight the other 4 after you beat them. For Mega Man 7, you also have a break stage in between, clearing the first 4 robots and moving on to the next ones. This new character called Duo is here to try and whip your ass, but we're not going to let him do that. The shop contains much more items than Mega Man 7, but this time we can make Buster modifications. Some of these are really powerful, and some can make Mega Man go faster, like the Hyper Slider or the Step Booster. Really handy to have and also very fun to use. You can equip the Buster upgrades in your start menu, and if you notice, we have Rush back again, except the menu's a little more different, and we have new tools to our arsenal. Unfortunately, we don't have a Rush adapter anymore from Mega Man 7. We do have Rush Bike, Item, Bomber, and Jet. Rush Bike is simply a bike you can ride that is difficult to control, but when mastered, can make you fly through levels. Rush Item functions very much like Eddie, who unfortunately isn't in this game, nor is Beat, aside from an auto-scroll section in Tengu Man and Wily 2. Rush comes down and gives you a random item. That's it. Rush Bomber just flies around and pelts enemies for a ton of damage, and makes for a good screen wipe, and Rush Health flies around and gives you tons of health and weapon energy in a pinch. E-tanks and such are completely removed from the game, so this is the method to get extra health. Bolts are no longer dropped from enemies, but are obtained in units of 1, scattered throughout the levels. Also a great thing in this game that incorporated was when you grab health or weapon energy, the game no longer freezes, previously from Rockman Forte. I enjoy that because the game freezing is pretty annoying, but to each their own. And also Base makes a return, but you only see him in the final level before Wily Capsule, and he poses a pretty decent threat. Mega Man 9. We have completely reverted back to the past. 12 years later, without a new classic Mega Man, we are back to 8-bit. This was released on all modern consoles at the time, like PS3, Wii, and 360. So interesting to see this game because it was a retro game made with modern technology, and it even felt like a classic Mega Man from the Nintendo era. So classic, we no longer have slide or even a charge shot. We are back to the absolute basics. They even took away the ability to swap weapons with L and R. Even the difficulty doesn't fuck around. This game is very hard. We only have access to Rush Coil, of course, from the start, and then later we get Rush Jet. We kept the bolts, except they drop from enemies again, and that of course means we have the shop. Even Auto makes a return. The shop contains 10 items, containing all the basics that you need, like E-Tanks, extra lives, Beat and Eddie, and now we have a new item unique to this game called Guard Power Up. For a steep price of 100 volts, you can use this to take half damage for an entire level. The level's giving you too much trouble. It's a great item, honestly. This game is incredibly well made, and it shows in the music, level design, and overall feel of the game. The developers were extremely passionate and excited to go back to the past with a modern touch to it. Speaking of, we have a brand new character to play. We got Proto Man. Proto Man is essentially the hard mode of this game, as he takes double damage. However, he has the slide, the charge shot, and he keeps his shield. This was an awesome addition to the game. And another great addition was the time attack mode. After completing the game, you can do time trials. And I believe there was an active leaderboard at the time when this game was released, so you could practice and compete against others. 2 years later, we get yet another classic Mega Man. Mega Man 10 felt like going from Mega Man 1 into Mega Man 2, keeping the overall mechanics, but just adding a few nice touches here and there. You can play as Proto Man from the start this time, if you wish, and for the very first time in the classic games, you choose a difficulty easy or normal. Not to mistake Mega Man 2's difficulty from normal from difficult, but now we have easy or normal. Easy features less enemies, less damage taken, and also random platforms that the levels have that normal would not, allowing you not to fall so easily off stages. Again, this was released for the modern consoles at the time. We still are searching around for a beloved slide and charge shot, but that is nowhere to be found. The good thing is we can swap weapons with L&R again, so that cuts down menu time, and even Rush and Jet Coil can be selected with it, which is really nice. Time trials are back. The game plays mostly the same as Mega Man 9 with some more interactive level design choices. The new Wily boss design is great because you fight past robot masters from the previous game. But the best part is you get to play as Base. Now we're going back to Rockman Forte. If you haven't already done that, we get to experience Base behind the 8-bit atmosphere. He plays mostly the same, except there is no A button dash. It is replaced with the slide, which is a little awkward, but for the most part, he plays the exact same. He doesn't have a charge shot, again, but he does have two unique items to him in the shop, Treble Rescue and Treble Item, which function essentially as Beat and Eddie. His replacement for Rush Coil is Treble Boost, which functions very similar to the Rush Jet adapter in Mega Man 6, and a little different shot in the air. I absolutely love playing as Base, and this game is amazing. Definitely give it a try. Boys, it happened. We thought the Mega Man series was pretty much dead at this point, but we got a brand new, fresh off the line title in 2018, Mega Man 11. This game kicked everything about the mechanics of Mega Man to the next level. Yes, it follows the same formula for the most part, but we have two brand new mechanics, speed gear and power gear. These two functions use their own meter and can be used for a ton of different things. Power gear makes everything you do more powerful. And for the first time in a classic Mega Man, you can essentially charge your special weapons. Much like Mega Man X games where you can charge your special weapons with a specific buster part, in Mega Man 11 you can just fire off a more powerful version of the selected weapon at a higher ammo cost. Speed gear slows everything down, but Mega Man will move quicker relative to how slow the time is going, so you can make cycles of certain levels or gain advantage on the battlefield. Sometimes you gotta go slow to go fast. In addition, you have a few different ways to switch weapons now. You can use the traditional L and R method, start menu, or now the brand new radial wheel. Using the right analog stick for a quick menu, your gameplay is not interrupted whatsoever. There are only two variations of rush in this game, and you can use them both with a single button press, using triangle or circle. The gameplay in Mega Man 11 is so clean and seamless that in my opinion, it is the most technical Mega Man game ever made, even more so than the X games. Every single button on the controller is used, as you can now map, auto fire, and even slide, so you no longer have to hold down and jump to do it. I always hated that, holding down to slide. It felt so awkward, but now you don't have to. The shot feels more valuable again, going back to how it was in Mega Man 8 with the loads of useful items to make Mega Man more powerful and faster. If you really want to get sweaty with your gameplay, the time trials are back, but now better than ever. It even offers a leaderboard for added challenge. This game was also not exclusive to a console, it released for every console at the time, even PC. Mega Man sold very well, not only in Japan, but the States. So, does that mean it would make sense to create another title? We ask Capcom, where is Mega Man 12? Our favorite Blue Bomber has been to several universes, changing or improving every trip. It's always interesting to see how a particular series develops and grows over time. I love Mega Man and everything that comes with it. Well, mostly. It's nostalgic, and in my opinion, the foundation for the platformers we have even today. I hope this video has not only been entertaining, but also insightful. It was a ton of fun to make, and I even learned a few things as I was making it. If you want more Mega Man content, earlier this year I did a playthrough of Mega Man X8 Demake, where Mega Man X8 was demade into a 16-bit version. And the link for that will be on the screen. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Have a good night, morning, afternoon, wherever you happen to be, and I will see you all in the next video.